to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel.
You have a comeback when you commit to change. Now listen, not when you want to change, not when you think you should change, not when you talk about changing, but when you commit to change.
Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. Great to have you joining us again today. Going to talk Super Bowl stuff today, but not just talking about football, but talking about you and the one powerful lesson that you can learn that could make a huge difference in your life. If you need to turn around, if you need to come back, I've got it for you today. This is really exciting stuff for me because I get to combine things I love, which is inspiring people to have comebacks and turnarounds and football, especially the Patriots being from New England. So it's good stuff. I can't wait to dig into this with you and reveal this powerful lesson that you can use to really power your comeback and your turnaround in your life. Before we jump into that, somebody reminded me of something this week that I do not talk about. I don't know why I don't talk about it more, but subscribing to this podcast so that you automatically get the newest episode when it comes out. I don't talk about that. I talk about giving us good 5-star ratings or writing a nice review, which, by the way, we welcome that for sure, but also just subscribing. Having more subscribers is good and makes it easy for you. You just don't have to go looking for it. It comes to you, and it comes to you each and every week. So every Friday morning, you'll have a new podcast in your inbox. So subscribe to the podcast because I think you'll find it to be the simplest and easy way. And again, we just always have great stuff. Last week's on self-talk, man, just some great feedback already on that one. 7 phrase shifts that you can use that can change the way you talk to yourself. And again, you don't listen to yourself, you talk to yourself. And if you talk to yourself in the right way, it's going to have a huge impact on your life for sure. And next week, we're going to do one for Valentine's Day. And I've got a great episode for you that'll really help your love life. So be looking forward to that. And then we'll dig into a kind of a theme there for a while as we go into the rest of February and into March. And we march our way right up to a real milestone, 250 episodes. Our country is going to celebrate its 250th anniversary this year. We're going to celebrate 250 episodes coming up pretty soon. So that'll be fun as well. So those are all things to look forward to. Now, what I'm talking about today in terms of looking at this incredible turnaround of the Patriots and drawing out a powerful lesson for a turnaround in your life, I did write this as an article as well. So you can read it in article form on foxnews.com. So just go to foxnews.com and type in my name, and the article will come up for you, and you can read it. You can share it with other people. Certainly can share the podcast. Love for you to do that. But basically what you got here is, say an 800-word article versus, say, 5,000 words spoken. So if you like listening, then this is the way to go, and you want to hear the whole story. If you want a summary of it and you like reading, then the article works out for you. Some people, maybe most people, like both things and like to be able to have both at their disposal, which is exactly why we do it this way. But if you know someone that would prefer to read something shorter and more to the point, if you have someone who hears and likes to learn through listening and really wants the full story, doesn't want just a sort of compact version of it, then this episode is great to share as well. So, but it's nice to have both, isn't it? To have both those out there, and those are both offered to you. So take advantage of it. I would also just say to you that I will reference my book, Turn Your Setbacks into Comebacks, my best-selling book, and I would highly encourage you to get the book. If you like what you hear here in this, here with your H-E-A-R and here, H-E-R-E, then you will definitely want to dig into the book, because the book is just filled with all kinds of great insights. So Turn Your Setbacks and Comebacks. Just go wherever you get your books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, you want to go to Target, whatever you want to do. You can get it from us as well at rickmcdaniel.com. All right, so the Super Bowl is Sunday. It's the Patriots against the Seahawks, and the Patriots are just an amazing story. And so I want to show you this one lesson today that just is so powerful and is the key, absolute key, the key to the whole turnaround for the Patriots. There are lots of things, but this is the one. And the same key is the key to your personal turnaround. If you need to turn around in your life, you need to come back, this is what you have to do. This is the key thing, that it's the pivot point. It's the pivot point that shifts you out of setback into comeback. This is what it is. But let's lay the groundwork, if you would. So the Patriots are going to be in the Super Bowl for a record 12th time. No other professional football team has ever been in the Super Bowl 12 times. And just so you can appreciate how amazing this is the 60th Super Bowl. So 12 times 5 is 60, right? So just let that sink in. They've been in 12, which means every 5, that's an amazing way to think about it. Just remarkable to think that that's how many Super Bowls that the Patriots have been in. So it is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. Now, what makes it just remarkable is last season, the Patriots only won 4 games. 4 games. This season, they've won 17 games. And part of that 17 games includes a 10 in a row winning streak and winning 3 playoff games to become AFC champions, which is what got them into the Super Bowl. And that, my friends, is the single greatest turnaround in NFL history. That no one has ever done that. There have been 2 teams, that have had 10-game turnarounds, like the Patriots did in terms of going from 4 games to 14 games in the regular season. But neither of those teams, the Colts or the Dolphins, ever became conference champions and went to the Super Bowl. So this stands alone. Now, when you talk about the subject of comebacks and turnarounds, I am your guy. I have written and spoken about it an amazing amount of time. As I said, I wrote an entire book, Turn Your Setbacks into Comebacks, which is all about it. I have written all kinds of articles about Tiger Woods' comeback when he won the Masters, about the Patriots when they came back in the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history and beat the Falcons. I wrote about when the University of Virginia basketball team, which was the first number 1 seed ever to lose in the first rounds of the tournament to a 16th seed, Maryland, Baltimore County. I mean, you come on. And then the very next year, they won the entire national championship for the first time ever for the University of Virginia, and this is a school that had one of the greatest players ever, Ralph Sampson, and they didn't win a national championship with him. So I've written books about it. I've been interviewed on ESPN Radio. I've been interviewed on tons of different podcasts and radio stations all around America about comebacks. Been asked to be on television as well, NBC, about comebacks. So I'm your comeback guy, and I can dissect this for you right off the bat. What I can tell you is that in, say, my book, we talk about the components of a comeback and the steps to a comeback. But before you can get to all of that, before you can get to dropping setback mentality, exiting survival mode, having forward focus, regaining your momentum, before any of those absolute powerful principles can be put into effect, something has to happen first. There is only one way you can have a turnaround or a comeback. This is it. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it with absolute certainty and declaring to you, there is only one way to have a turnaround or comeback, to start a turnaround and comeback. How about we say that? Are you ready for it? You have to change. You must be willing to do things differently from what you've done up to that point. A turnaround pivots on decisive change. You keep doing what you've always done, you keep getting what you've always gotten. You cannot have a turnaround in your life. You cannot have a comeback if you do not change what you are doing. That is the only way it can happen. So just get that truth. Now, I'm going to spend the rest of this episode showing you how the Patriots did it and how you can do it. Because there's 3 changes that have to happen. 3 distinct changes. When those things change, you are on your way to an incredible comeback. You are on your way to a marvelous turnaround in your life. So let's start with the Patriots, and then we will show you how it works in your own life. So the Patriots made massive changes to their team. And the result is a wildly unexpected, successful season with the opportunity to be NFL champions. And listen, if they win the Super Bowl, they'll be the first team ever to win 7 Super Bowls. First team to ever have 12 Super Bowl appearances. They could be the first team to have 7 Super Bowl championships. Wow. You want to turn around in your life? You must be willing to change too. Let's look at the changes. The first change of the 3 is you have to change your mind. Change your mind. How do you do it? You change your mind through knowledge. A change of mind happens when you receive new information and you gain new knowledge. That's how you can change your mind, because you know information. You have knowledge. Now, part of that knowledge comes through defeat and failure. So the setback is a defeat, it's a failure, it's a loss, call it whatever you want. But there's knowledge in that. That's why in my book, Turn Setbacks and Comeback, I talk about the lessons from a setback. What can you learn? What did the Patriots learn? Well, they learned that they only won 4 games, and that if they didn't make wholesale changes, then they're not going to have a turnaround. They're not going to have a comeback. It's going to take, when you've only won 4 games and you're a team that's used to winning, you got to make major changes, massive changes. So what's the first thing they did? They changed their coach. When Bill Belichick left the Patriots, they hired one of his assistant coaches who had also played for him, linebacker Gerard Mayo. And everyone was like, yeah, this guy knows the system. He understands. He's been with Belichick, the winningest coach in history. And when I say winningest, I know that Don Shula technically won more games. If Belichick had kept coaching in the NFL, he would have passed him easily. But he won way more Super Bowls than Shula, way more playoff games, way more. So not to mention he was a defensive coordinator for the New York Giants and won 2 Super Bowls, and he's the only person who's ever won 8 Super Bowls. Even Tom Brady has only won 7, but there's only one person who's won more Super Bowls than Tom Brady, and that's Bill Belichick. So Belichick had brought up and, mentored Mayo, but what happened? They only won 4 games. And so the Patriots said, even after only 1 year, we're going to make a change. So they hired Mike Vrabel. Now, Mike Vrabel also played for Belichick at linebacker. So very similar in that sense to Mayo. Both had played for him. Both were really good players. Both won Super Bowls with him. But Vrabel won 3 Super Bowls, which is pretty remarkable. And Vrabel had much more coaching experience. Mayo had never been a head coach before. Vrabel had been a head coach before with the Tennessee Titans. In fact, he had some pretty good success for them. They're not a very successful franchise, but he had a down year and they fired him. And the Patriots said, that's our guy. And then he hired Josh McDaniels. Now, twice previously, Josh McDaniels had been an offensive coordinator for the Patriots. And the reason why twice is because 2 different times, once with the Broncos and once with the Raiders, he was a head coach. But both of those didn't work out. So now he's coming back for the 3rd time. And this is a guy who worked very closely with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady would say was very impactful in the success that he had. And he hired McDaniels to come back and coach this brand new quarterback, Drake May, who was a rookie the first year. So this would be his 2nd year in professional football, which isn't obviously a lot. But McDaniels developed Drake May from a rookie to an MVP candidate in just his second season. I mean, it's amazing. May's progress meant the Patriots had like an all-pro at the most important position in football, which is quarterback. So you see right there the coaching staff, these major changes in the coaching staff and major results. But it certainly wasn't just the coaching staff, because the other change they made was in their roster. They signed wide receiver Stephon Diggs. Now, he had been a very productive receiver in Buffalo, but he had a major knee injury and wasn't maybe thought of the same. They were able to sign him. He ended up leading the team in receptions and yardage. Then they signed Robert Spillane from the Raiders, and he ended up leading the team in tackles. And then they signed edge rusher Harold Landry from my alma mater, Boston College football, and he played for Vrabel at the Titans, and he ended up leading the team in sacks. I mean, you see the amazing, they make changes, and look at the result of the changes. And then they signed Super Bowl champion Milton Williams, who had played on defensive line for the Eagles last year when they won the Super Bowl, and he's just the kind of guy that impacts everything on a defense, both the run game and the pass game, because he's just like a stopper in the middle of the defense, and huge impact. They also signed other players, other like Matt Collins, the receiver. They ended up signing other defensive players. They then drafted. They drafted high because they only won 4 games the previous season, and they drafted Will Campbell from LSU to be their new left tackle, and then they drafted Jared Wilson from University of Georgia to be their new left guard. By the way, another free agent signing was Morgan Moses, a Richmonder, right here from where I live. He played here in Richmond High School, then played at the University of Virginia. He's a veteran offensive lineman. They signed him as well. Then they drafted another Richmond area guy named Travion Henderson. He played running back at Ohio State. They drafted him. He scored 10 touchdowns for the Patriots this year, almost rushed for 1,000 yards. Those are big numbers for a rookie. So you see the massive changes that took place. Here's a way to understand it that'll sum it all up. When the Patriots opened the season, their roster consisted of 30 new players. That's the most in the NFL. In other words, they changed their entire coaching staff, and then they changed their roster more than any other team in football. There's only 52 players on the game day roster of a football team, 8 on the practice squad. That's 60. So if we use the bigger number 60, that's half of the roster is been changed. That's an amazing amount of change. Well, what happened when you did all that change? Change players, change coaches. You go from 4 wins to 17 wins. So here's what I can tell you, friends. You can have an incredible comeback if you change your mind. It happens because you know more. You're wiser. You have insights, and that leads you to a turnaround. You've got to learn from your setbacks. What are the lessons you can learn? What other information can you amass that will give you insights to make a turnaround in your life, to have a comeback? It's out there. There's tons of great information out there. What new knowledge can you gain? What lessons can you learn from what took place that caused you to be in the setback position that you're in, so that then you can actually get to a place where, with new information and new knowledge, you can change your mind. After a change of mind, the next step is a change of heart. Now, a change of heart is a result of a new attitude, a new mindset. You decide your attitude is going to change. You determine that you are going to view life from a positive perspective. Optimism beats negativity every single time. You want to have a turnaround in your life, you have to start thinking optimistically. You need to have a positive mindset. You need to start your day in a positive mood, not in a negative. Most people start negatively. They just do. And guess what? You start negatively, you think negatively, you end up attracting negativity. You start positively, you think optimistically, and you start seeing opportunities. When you start talking to yourself, as we had in last week's episode, the right way, it starts changing you. When you start thinking the right thoughts, things change for the better. Some people will never have a comeback. They'll never have a turnaround in their life because they refuse to change their attitude. A negative attitude will never lead to a positive comeback. It just won't. It won't happen. You have to consciously choose to have a positive mindset. And when you start thinking, as the Bible tells us, your thoughts determine your life. Be careful how you think. Your thoughts determine your future. That's what the book of Proverbs says. Your thinking is enormous. You must change your thinking. Now, a lot of people that are already thinking negatively to begin with, then they have setbacks in their life, and then they're just even more negative. And that's never going to lead to a comeback. You'll never have a turnaround if you don't change. You got to change your mind. You got to get new knowledge. You got to get new information. You got to change your heart. You've got to change your attitude and your mindset. Now, resistance to change is everywhere. It's mostly because of fear of the unknown. People don't know, they're afraid of what they don't know. How do you overcome fear, by the way? With faith, with belief. You believe. That's what it means to have a positive, optimistic, faith-filled mindset. You believe that change can happen. You believe that change can be done. Coach Vrabel was quoted after they won the AFC Championship game that this exact quote, he said, "You have to believe things sometimes before you can see them. You have to believe things sometimes before you can see them." Well, that's really funny. And I don't mean funny in like a ha-ha way, but I mean funny in the sense that basically what Coach Vrabel was saying right there, that his little quote is almost a direct quote from out of the Bible. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 6, I want you to listen to what it says, because this is, pretty funny when you think about it. It's impossible, without faith, it's impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. That you have to believe. You have to believe. Okay, now listen to chapter 11. Now listen to chapter 1. Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we do not see. Now listen to Vrabel. You have to believe things sometimes before you can see them. Assurance about what we do not see. Confidence in what we hope for. I mean, he's quoting Hebrews 11:1. He's basically saying the scripture verse that there it is. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. So you can see it all right there. It's as clear as a bell. You have to open up yourself to new possibilities, to new opportunities, new experiences. That's how you have a turnaround. That's how change happens in your life. Positive change, comebacks. But here's the thing. If your attitude doesn't change and you don't have a change of heart, it won't happen. It just won't happen. So this isn't like an optional thing. Well, I don't know about being more positive. Well, okay, then. I mean, do you want to have like this remarkable turnaround in your life? Because it can happen. All of the principles that work for a football team will work for you. And here's another thing Vrabel did to help his team in terms of belief. He introduced what he called the 4 H's. He learned this last year from Coach Stefanski at Cleveland, because while he was out of coaching football for a year, he was over there hanging with the Cleveland Browns organization, and Coach Stefanski has the 4 H's. And this is where players share their personal insights into their history, heroes, heartbreaks, and hopes. So the 4 H's: history, who you are; heroes, who you look up to; heartbreaks, things that have happened; disappointments in your life; hopes for the future. And Vrabel went first, opened it up, shared his history, heroes, heartbreaks, and hopes, and then all the other players followed suit. And what happened is that bonded the team in this newfound attitude of belief. Like, we this is our history, this is the people that have inspired us. This is tough things we've been through, but these are the hopes that we have. We've got this hope that things can be better, that the future can be brighter, that things can go in a more positive, victorious direction. We believe. There you go. And there's one final change, and that is you must change your future. And you change your future through commitment. Commitment. You choose to be committed to your turnaround. No one's ever had a turnaround in their life that they weren't committed to it. Everyone wants it. I mean, every team in the NFL wants to have the turnaround that the Patriots had. Every team wants to be a conference champion. There are 4 of the 32 teams in the NFL that have never been a conference champion. They have never gone to the Super Bowl. They would love this. There are other teams that have just had all, like the Browns and the Jets and the Raiders, that have just had years and years of futility, even though at one time, the Browns, they used to be awesome back in the NFL earlier days when there was no Super Bowl. It was called the NFL Championship. They won championships. The Jets won a championship in the early days of the Super Bowl, Super Bowl III. The Raiders won multiple championships. Everyone would love to have this turnaround. But the Patriots are the ones who had it. Why? The Patriots won because they committed to, on the opening press conference, when Coach Vrabel was introduced as the coach of the Patriots, he said there would be 2 non-negotiables: effort and finish. The Patriots will be known for 2 things: their effort and that they finish. They finish plays, they finish games, and they committed to that. You have a comeback when you commit to change. Now listen, not when you want to change, not when you think you should change, not when you talk about changing, but when you commit to change. That's how you have a comeback. That's when things turn around. Commitments drive success more than goals. Goals are good, but goals don't get you there. Commitment gets you there. My famous phrase, used it many times, I've said it on this podcast before, said it many times speaking and preaching: successful people are simply ordinary people who make commitments others are unwilling to make. You want to have a successful turnaround, you want to have a powerful comeback, you make commitments other people don't make. I've seen it over and over again. And the NFL has witnessed it. They've witnessed it firsthand. The incredible, remarkable turnaround by the Patriots. Because they committed to effort, they committed to finishing, they committed to turning this thing around. No more losing. We are going to start winning again. We are the most winningest football team in the last 25 years by far, not even close, dynastic. And then we go into the spell where we aren't winning, and we go and bottom out so bad that we lose 4 games, 2 seasons in a row. This is unacceptable. And the same thing can happen to you. You say, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I'm done with the setbacks. If you'll gain new knowledge, if you believe that you can have a comeback, if you'll stay committed to the turnaround process, then you can experience it. You can experience it in your life, just like a football team, the Patriots did, and they're on their way to the Super Bowl, and we'll see what happens. They're not favored, but I would not bet against them, my friends. And obviously, as New Englander, I'm believing they're going to pull it off again and win a record 7 Super Bowls. And I believe in you. I believe you can do it. I believe if you will pivot and make decisive change and change your mind and change your heart and change your future, you will see an amazing turnaround in your life. Get inspired by what you've seen the team do and believe that the same thing can happen in your life, and do it.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.